Does anybody else hate reminders or like those little pop up things? Like when you turn on Zoom, the little bubble pops up, like, do you want AI to do this? And then, like, you click no, and then some other bubble pops up. It's like when you go to get gas, you just want to like swipe your card. Sometimes you put in your PIN. If you skip that, then usually it's your zip code. But then sometimes it's like, would you be interested in a car wash? No, motherfucker. I'm at the gas pump, not the fucking car wash, okay? I want my fucking gas, is what I want. Let me get to it. Just like before I started recording this, Zoom with a damn million pop ups. If I want it, I'll turn it on. All right, Zoom, are you listening? The AI portion of you, even though I turned you off, I'm certain you're listening. Or the NSA or the CIA or whoever. Somebody. Anywho, we are all just beat and Scottied out today because I just no shit woke up, got bedhead like a mofo, so we threw on the Just Be hat. I was already wearing the Be Authentic They'll Adjust shirt, having my coffee out of my Just Be mug. Be present, be humble, be gracious, be authentic. And I answered a post this morning of uh, somebody said, like, what's a reminder for you? And I said, be authentic, they'll adjust. So that's why he's one of my favorite dudes. And if you want this shirt and you want to buy one for every single person in your life that you care about, you'll go to, I think it's a moderately good, it used to be called a moderately good podcast, was before it was Just Be with Scotty G. So you're going to go to amgpstore.com, which used to be a moderately good podcast store.com. However, all the Just Be merch you could ever want is right there. So that's where you're going to do your holiday shopping, okay? That's how I support. And I advertise the fuck out of it because I love Scotty G. He's he's a real cool dude. And this shirt has gotten me podcast guests, started so many conversations with people. Um, I love it. So go out and get one. Get two and give one away. All right? Let's make this world a better place. So, enough of that. The clip of the clap in clip or whatever that little thing is.
Hey, go. Asteroid of fear.
Welcome to Mental Health Monday. That's right. I didn't do a Friday episode. Been slacking on guests because life has been bananas. Hence, we're going to have a Mental Health Monday episode because Daddy needs it. I need to, and I need all the other men to hear it too. One, we struggle. We do. And it's okay. The world's in a tough spot between a rock and a hard place. Or as Money Mike would say, between a pimp and a hard place. Yeah. um, I was talking to my wife, and, I'm going over this like I have just felt in the dumps. I mean, like I've done some good work this week, you know, helping care for people, doing my best, serving and whatnot. But sometimes things come up. Sometimes things either seem impossible or maybe you can't see the way. You're like, how? How am I going to do this? How is this even possible? And that creates a fear response. I know for me, I don't know about you, other men out there, but for me, that equals like shut down, retreat, isolate, and anger. Man, there were some days I wanted to break some shit, but we came off of Thanksgiving. Everybody in my family's been sick. My wife's been sick. I spent, a lot of time she was dog sitting, but, bringing her food, doing everything I could. And then I had some real early mornings because it was my day to take the kiddo to school. And on those days, I get up at 5 and get myself ready. And I'm supposed to take a morning anti anxiety medication that slows shit down so I can deal with the world. And I missed it 3 days in a row. And even though I had a decent day, by the fourth day, it drops in your system, the levels. And a couple of things transpired where I either felt disrespected or standoffish, some communication problems with the wife, and caused me to isolate. Um, Fortunately, sometimes my isolation is in the form of Ubering, which equals money. So that's not terrible, but the kind of isolating at home, not being super comfortable talking and not speaking up about it. But then also, my wife is kind of she's learned like when I need my space, I need my space. But there are times I really, you know, I want her to come and like check on me. I want to see that fight for me. Um, I'm sure all you fellas can relate. You want to know that your wife loves you and wants you. And when something's wrong, they'll stop at nothing to figure out what it is because they are supposed to be your partner. And, sometimes we have to communicate. Like, once we got to talking and were finally able to communicate, I had to tell her, like, hey, no, if I need space, I'll tell you I need space. But sometimes when I walk away and I'm upset, it's like part of it, I don't know, it's not really testing, but part of it is like, yeah, I want you to come after me and fight for my upsettedness. Show me you love me. Show me you support me when I'm having a tough time. Let me know that it's going to be okay and that you love me regardless. Because, oftentimes as men, everything is linked to what can we provide um, in terms of safety, in terms of support and monetary. And, my wife and I, we've gone back and forth in the 20 years we've been together. Sometimes she's the breadwinner, sometimes I'm the breadwinner. And the other is like the support factor. And right now she's the breadwinner, which, sometimes makes me feel shitty, less manly, but I can support her. I actually helped her yesterday, got it done twice as fast, and gave us a chance to talk. And there's some other ventures she's doing and whatnot. And, you know, I know her strong suit and then my strong suit. And um, I've come to realize I need to put some more, one place since she is the breadwinner and we kind of do entrepreneurial things and we do them together. But she kind of has a thing and I kind of have a thing that are separate. What I can do is use the skills, tools, and knowledge that I have to support her, like on the back end, be that an advertisement, word of mouth, QR code stickers, this and that, the other. So, yeah, I need to do more of that, and I plan to. And, but when that is a hard hit to handle sometimes, I think, as men, as a Gen Xer growing up, there was a time when the man went to work and the mom stayed home. And I grew up kind of in those situations. And then when my mom went to work, she worked off and on. I would stay with grandparents, and the grandparents, the the wife didn't work, because we got to remember, while they were still grandparents, they were still in the probably late 40s, early 50s range, like my range as grandparents. And so they were still working, but my grandmother would watch me because she worked intermittently, like waiting tables, but my grandpa worked for the city and could provide. And slowly with women's rights, women in the workplace, all the women's movement, which, yes, I support as a father of three daughters. Um, I 100% support the idea, but I also support the traditional model, if that's your thing. And, you know, right now, our thing is we do whatever we can to be flexible so we can do what we want when we want and answer to nobody. We're not requesting PTO from people and all that jazz. So, but it is hard. And, she had to remind me that, hey, it's not just hard for you, it's hard for everybody. Oh. And, I do believe that. Um, as I'm out Ubering, I am seeing more and more older drivers, like my age range, and maybe even older, and some people that actually looked like they once held a professional job similar to myself and got laid off. And this is what they're doing. And I'm seeing a lot of older people doing entry level jobs, um, whether it's working at KFC or something like that. So it's been interesting to kind of view things. And, I read tons of articles, and, I think I've talked about nobody's really hiring, but nobody's firing. And then you get this article of all these people who've been laid off and all these companies that are going through layoffs. And so, yes, it is tough. My wife had to kind of remind me of that as I was crying on her shoulder because I'm sitting here going, man, 49 years old, going on 50. In my area, there's, they're not looking for 50-year-old master's degree level, 15 years experience people. They're looking for probably 22 to 27 with some experience and a basic degree, and they can pay them less. So, you know, that fucked with my head a little bit because it's just the truth. It's almost like I have to try to do this and make these other things work because, yeah, it's tough out there. I mean, even my business coach, one of the people he coaches, um, when they were job hunting, I cannot remember maybe 6 weeks to 8 weeks it took. But the amount of applications, let's say like 100 applications, maybe you get 10 callbacks, maybe you get 3 interviews and one job out of that. Yeah, wild. But thanks to the interwebs and technology, Steve Jobs, we all kind of have our own personal brand and we can all kind of do our own thing if you're willing to put in the work and you want to. And lately I've been fighting, sucking it out with the electronic devices. For all the viewers, I was air punching the fuck out of AI. That's right. You know, um, I love the machines and the technology, but I kind of hate how it's made us as humans. We're not having those face to face conversations as much as we should, not having real connection. We're mistaking placebo digital connection for true face to face connection, which I've been struggling with and kind of wanting to opt out of. But um, yeah, I'm not kind of, it's like had a mini meltdown and almost like you have to accept acceptance. Once you accept, what are you going to do about it? Right? I need to utilize it. I need to put it out there more. I often have this conflict of I should be out there earning money, but then I have a lot of shit to do here that could be supportive of my wife and our business and businesses that we're trying to get started. A lot of that needs to be done. So, and sometimes I'll struggle. And there's times where I feel like throwing up and going, oh, just, I'll go get a regular ass job. But, chances are those, I'm not what they're looking for. I'm overqualified, right? 15 years of healthcare experience, master's degree. Um, yeah. So I got to do my own thing. And I kind of heard it described perfectly not too long ago. So, I've been toying with this idea of nobody should die alone. And I'm listening to Chris Williamson interview Mel Robbins, or maybe it was the other way around. But however I came across it, Mel Robbins, some of you might know her. I don't know her well. I know she's got some books and a podcast. My wife likes her. And she was like, "Oh no, my husband's like so chill. He's a death doula." And I was like, "That's I'd never heard it called that, but that's the idea. Nobody should die alone. And for those of you who don't know, let's see. We're gonna Google doula. All right. A doula is a non medical professional who provides guidance for the service of others and who supports another person through a significant health related experience, such as childbirth, miscarriage induced abortion, or stillbirth, as well as non reproductive experiences, such as dying. A doula might also provide support to the client's partner, family, and friends. The doula's goal and role is to help the client feel safe and comfortable, complementing the role of the healthcare professionals who provide the client's medical care. So, while death doula does not sound very attractive in terms of mm, what do you do? It's like saying I'm an undertaker or mortician, coroner. But in the fact that nobody, I feel like, should die alone, providing that companionship, and then, of course, with their permission, spending time getting those stories and being able to tell those stories should they wish them to be told and have a piece of their history here at the Men of the House podcast for everyone to hear so you can know who this person was, what they were about, what they thought was important, where they think the world is going, maybe what they want to leave the world with, maybe their regrets, not taking the chance. As I sit here and take my chance. But yeah, I mean, back to that mental health of it, taking that chance, man, it's hard. It is. As a man, you feel like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. You know, I was sold that whole get your education. That's bulletproof. Now, you get laid off too. There is nothing, no real safe route. That whole, shit growing up in the 80s and push for education so they can make money off of it. I do think education is valuable, especially in the science, engineering, technology type spaces. Um, English, yeah, and grammar, right? Everybody should know how to read and write, communicate, especially if you want to be a communicator. Um, it's a place that can teach you good study habits, how to access information. Um, there's in having to write, like whether it's a business proposal, a dissertation, stuff like that is valuable. You're not just going to go fucking do it on your own unless it's assigned to you. And then some people, now you could get Chat GPT and all that to do it. I mean, yeah, but these things are supposed to be amplifiers, not um, substitutes. You know, you still want your own personal mm, in there, a little Zatarans, if you will. But yeah, it was a rough week, and I was recovering from sickness. Everybody in the family still recovering from sickness. And so I apologize for missing Unfiltered Friday, but you're welcome for Mental Monday. And also want to shout out, let's see, let me see what we got here. For the viewers, you can see me. For the listeners, yours truly. Ha ha ha. See if his, yep, Mr. McNair. All right. Look, I got a warning yesterday from Officer McNair while I was on a delivery. I was not paying attention enough and made an error. And I told you, I have been at the end and, to me, just feeling in the dumps. I mean, none of this really resided till last night. I mean, my wife and I finally had a chance to talk a little bit yesterday morning. And then when we were cleaning the Airbnb, we were able to talk some stuff out. And then once I got done delivering, um, we spent a little bit of time together. But, when this happened yesterday, I was still kind of in the dumps, if you will. And I mean, I had been feeling horrible. I mean, I hate to even, mm, yeah, horrible. We don't want to say the word, we don't want to give it life. But when he came back with that warning, I actually started tearing up. I was grateful. I've been praying to God, like, are you with me? Show me something. Tell me something. Like, can you hear me? I need your help. I don't know if Officer McNair was that. He sure lit me up, but he did give me a warning. And he could see the tears in my eyes. And he asked me if I was okay, asked me if I needed to talk. I gave him like a little short version. Hey, it's like, I got laid off 5 years ago and just been trying to make things work. And I'm out here trying to hustle and, apologize for not yielding to that sign. But yeah, he was receptive and younger. He looked in his 20s maybe, but I really appreciated that. So thank you, Isaiah McNair. Whether or not you'll ever hear this, I don't know, but you made a difference in my day by just caring. And let that, I hope if you're a police officer listening to this, um, if you have family members who are LEO, share this with them. And if you hate the cops, they're not all bad. Some of them actually care, okay? So, that was a moment of gratefulness for me. And I can tell you, I think after that, the deliveries I had after that, I was almost in a better mood just by him extending some kindness. Now, for other promising news, display the Just Be cup here for the viewers because I just finished my coffee with a dash of salted caramel pink Himalayan sea salt. And speaking of which, I did a 96-hour fast. I broke it last night with some broth and a little fresh challah bread. That's Challah, Jewish unleavened bread. Not like it doesn't fall. It's not bread sold by the inventors of wrap snacks. Okay, it's not challah, challah, challah bread. And then you would have like mini loaves, or they have like challah rolls, knots. Those would be like challah, like hype men. You know? Yeah. You want to be that job? It's actually a job. I'm a hype man. I just sit in the background and go, yo, yo, wave the hand up in the air like I just don't care. Saying shit in between songs. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. But promising news on another front. Um, was out doing some shop and pay, and uh, at a Dollar General nonetheless. But there was a dude there named Z. Super helpful, super enthusiastic, overall nice guy. Didn't have that apathy that I normally see out there. Um, I told him I was going to shout him out on the podcast. So, Z, if you're listening, I hope you are. Or if you know Z from the Dollar General next to La Puebla de Sol, check him out. But I love that. You know, it doesn't matter what you're doing. He's stocking shelves, helping me. But when you do it like you give a shit, like you care, man, it makes all the difference. Pleasant. I was pleasantly surprised. And did I run into anyone else that was new? Let me see. Sometimes I put myself reminders. Let me see if I wrote anything down. And where would I put it? Oh, yeah, Death Duel. Reminder. No, no, no. Definitely need some. It's that time of the year, open enrollment. Yada, yada, yada. Mm, lots to do. Lots to do. But like I said, thank you for spending your time with me. You could be anywhere else doing anything else, listening to anyone else. And if any of this relates to you, I believe there's ways on Buzzsprout to send a text. Find me on Instagram, Facebook, say what's up, tell me you listen. Um, I want to meet you, maybe in person, depending on where you are. Um, if you're out there and I haven't gotten back to you, I will. I'm just so far behind. Life has been turbulent lately in many different ways. And, yo, as this journey progresses, things will emerge that fill in the picture and you'll understand. And you'll be like, oh, oh, yeah. Now I remember. That's what he was talking about. I can see it. I can see it. But men out there, stay strong, Open your mouths, have a private accountability group on WhatsApp for men. Just somebody you can share the truth with and they'll listen, because before I actually talked to my wife, I talked to my dad and, a few other, like my best friend. I'll bounce my feelings and perspective off them. And so I have a place where you can engage with other men, gain support, not to support one another. From my personal experience, communicate with your wife. If you need space, say, hey, I need space. Um, but they're not mind readers. They don't know. And sometimes our childhood events cause us to um, sometimes we attract people who are missing some of the things we actually need because it's kind of this familiarity. Like, let's say our parents didn't give us something and we sought it out in this person, and maybe they fulfill all these other needs, yet they don't fulfill like this other need. And that, but they won't know unless you tell them. And I know as a man, we've been told to shut up, suck it up. Um, but that just, for a man, creates resentment, distance, isolation, standoffishness. Like my wife said, and I can't blame her. She goes, you look upset and you don't feel safe. Why would I chase after or come talk to you if I don't feel safe or you don't feel safe? It'd be like if you saw a stranger in the street that didn't look safe, you would avoid them. And so, yeah, I wasn't putting out the best of vibes. That's on me. I have to own that. Ah, and speaking of which, this will be the last part. And if you made it this far, I commend you. I thank you. But if you've listened, or if you haven't, I'll let you know. Another triggering point this week was I read an article at some point. There's a little 6-year old girl who got run over by a school bus in Oklahoma at the bus stop in front of other kids. And that took me back to being on the bus at 7 years old when it ran over Dana Hobbs, the girl that sat in front of me in class. And I know that set off alarm bells internally for me. So, if you're listening, you know any of these people, or this makes it to there somehow, we're in a different time frame. This is not 1983. My wife said, poor little girl. I said, no, poor the kids who had to see that. I pray that the girl, hopefully God took her to heaven. But as somebody who's been in this situation, and it took me 42 years to fucking figure it out, parents, school teachers, counselors at the school, whoever you are, you need to talk to your kids about it. I know it's going to be hard to make it age appropriate, but they need to understand it because when I didn't get that support, um, when nobody explained it to me, it created a huge distrust in adults and authority for me, which has been a theme throughout my entire life. The adults were full of shit. The people at the top, the people running the country, whoever, they're all full of shit. Um, I don't think I was wrong to have that because I think a lot of that rings true. They're puppets uh, with lip service, greedy, all about power, money, and status. So, yeah, I wasn't entirely wrong. But kids are, don't discount kids and their intelligence. Um, they have access to so much more than we ever did. We had encyclopedias. And sometimes my wife would be like, you shouldn't tell that to our daughter or blah, blah, blah. I'm like, look, yes, she's a kid, but I have to be honest with her, one. And two, um, she's a little person. She's a little human. She's going to grow up and, you know, do we want to tell her the truth so she comes to us with her truths or questions and asks for our advice? Or do we want her going to like her friends' parents who, and as these kids grow up in age, and do we want her listening to her friends or what her friends' parents say or taking advice from them? It may not be good advice. We don't even know them. You don't know their beliefs or whatever. So, yeah, you got to be honest. They're little people. So, yeah, if you know anyone in Oklahoma surrounding that, you're in Oklahoma listening to this, this is important because I buried it away, ended up with panic attacks 42 years later, and didn't realize that while it didn't happen to me, something happened to me. My body went into fight or flight, and I operated at a high level of anxiety because I learned at 7 years old the world is dangerous and it can be fast and everything can be gone like that. So I'm sure there's a way. Figure it out. Get together some resources. This should include the school. And yeah, make sure those kids are okay. Please. But that's it for Mental Health Monday. I'm going to go try to have lunch with my wife since it is the AM. And then we both got to take people to doctor's appointments. That's life. That's what we do for a living. What we love to do, helping people. So, until next time, go out and be the person that you want to meet. Peace. Hey, go. Asteroid of fear.